This is an all-day sitting. It's the talk time. It is December in Springwater. Sitting, talking from my house, from our house. On a cold, gray day. People listening or present on screens in little boxes, a collection of little boxes. I noticed this morning, coming to the early sitting, as people came in, the little boxes would rearrange themselves. Always on our screen, it's a big screen, not a huge screen, but not a telephone or a cell phone. That something had been written into the Zoom program. To always kind of rearrange and make a nice, neat order out of the little boxes. And it occurred that that's a very human thing, to like order. It's comforting on some level. Or maybe it's a little compulsive at times. But that there's a beauty to it. That things are neat. But along with order, or with order, with no but, we look for meaning, we look for explanations, reasons. And the restlessness or the seeking quality of the brain can bring with it disorder. And looking at news, looking at the world around us, it seems very heightened this year. Very, very strong sense of a world in chaos. Is that too strong a word? But sitting here, there isn't that sense of chaos. But one doesn't have to look far. And so a couple of questions came up to look at. We'll see how it goes. Haven't really thought it through, or so that the looking will be here at this moment as it comes out. Is it, one of the questions that arose, is it possible to meet this perception of chaos, or the actuality, the news of the horrors of the way people treat each other, or the way people ignore common sense in relation to a pandemic. We put ourselves in danger for no reason. Well, we have reasons, always coming up with reasons. And so along with that question, if I can even remember what the question was I posed, with this being in chaos without becoming chaotic, can we put it that way? And along with that came the question, I'm kind of rephrasing it even at this moment, how do we meet situations that are difficult? How do we meet the things that happen every day? The perceived criticism or the actual criticism, the hurts, the difficulties, and the joys, the peace. When that question, second question, first came up this morning, I wasn't sitting on the sofa I'm sitting on now. There's another sofa we have upstairs where we have our television, a little sofa. And it came to mind that it wasn't a really true question. That it's only an idea. It was very clear at that moment. I'm seeing how it's what the sense of it is at this moment. That there's no meter. There's no meeting. Outside of thinking about it. I can think, how am I going to be with, at this moment, there's a little tapping noise in this room. I don't know what it is. Heat pipes, perhaps. And that's it. The noise, the stopping of the noise, the breathing, the sitting, the words coming out, the pauses, the quiet around the words. Okay, then thought says, well, sure, that's pretty straightforward. Sitting quietly, and we set aside time for this. I was surprised this morning, 7:30, a full screen of people setting aside time on a Saturday to sit quietly. I don't know the motive or the lack of motives, but nonetheless, the body's still. Of course, for this person at the moment, the hands are moving, but I don't think that's visible on the screen. Somehow the hands move when the words talk, when the voice talks. So sitting quietly, perhaps it's not that much different because memory has a strong function, a capacity to recreate what happened yesterday or what happened when I was 5 years old, when I was 20. And if it was a strong, what we call negative experience, the chemicals can come up, can be released in the stomach, the muscles can tighten, and we can watch the whole thing in this silent space. Or we can relive it. Perhaps with no distance, perhaps acutely or painfully. A lot of times it's just occurring to me that something can happen, somebody can say something critical, and at the moment, it doesn't really hit. But on the memory circuit or in the memory screen or whatever the heck it is, it magnifies. And what was mentioned before, this capacity to try to explain, to reason it out, to figure it out, maybe to take revenge, mentally at least, or to plot one's comeback, or to, I'm being careful with my words, but I'm going to try it anyways, but it's to some extent to relish the suffering. Because it's me. It was her. And somebody did that. Diminished me, made me unimportant. I felt squashed. And what's coming up is this meeting that was talked about. This meeting that's not a meeting. Can occur at any moment. So it didn't happen when that insult came or that perceived insult was uttered or that nasty look or that unfortunate circumstance that wasn't the way I thought it should be. But even as it's replaying here, if there's a little bit of curiosity, curiosity is kind of, I don't know how to say it. It's so much different than just kind of grinding away at the story, at the memory, at the enhanced memory, the pictures, those amazing pictures of humiliation. And then one feels it right through the whole system. Not a great feeling. But the curiosity can be so simple. I want to say it's a turning towards a meeting, a greeting, but simply not running away. not putting up defenses. Maybe that's all too much to say, because it really is just this, to me, this person, a kind of, what is this? And realizing I don't know. I know all of the memory. I know what I think of you for saying that. I have a picture of you. This is an anonymous you. It's nothing, there's no particular picture at this moment, but it's familiar. And I think it's not unfamiliar for most of us. If there's an openness to see, clinging to that hurt, that memory, and wondering. And maybe seeing the clinging and really wishing that one could let go. But it's not that, is it? I can't force this away. I can't wish it away. And I can see that it's causing harm. There's harm in the body, harm in relationship, in the body of our relationship. And I wish it wasn't there. But I want to hold on to it at the same time. I want to let it go. So this curiosity, this listening, whatever word or non-word we want to use, the turning towards, the openness, can it be non-judgmental? It might be a big jump. Because judgment comes in so quickly, right after the noticing that one's caught up in this thing, this hurt, and the thirst for revenge, for showing people that I am important, not to be trifled with. And then the judgment, I shouldn't feel that way. Or maybe I should. Kind of have a little debate going. I wonder if the seeing is more, I'm just kind of experimenting as this is coming out. Is it more kind of just getting out of the way for a moment? A little rest. That's the perception here, that the activity of defense and attack, of holding on and letting go and holding on again, maybe happening. But there's a quiet space for noticing. I want to say a space for revealing, for revelation, for things to show themselves. And in that, I feel the feeling here is that judgment can drop away, because the curiosity is kind of winning or replacing. It's kind of an awkward way to put it, but well, I'll let it stand for the moment. We have dialogue. We can try to find better words, better ways to express things, or to see what we see for ourselves, see what rings true. But at least for this moment, this opening, quieting, doesn't mean that everything goes away, that the whole conflict is suddenly resolved in some magic way. and I become a better human being, totally filled with love and compassion and blah, blah, blah. Sorry, it sounds dismissive. There's nothing wrong with love and compassion. But if it's an idea, it's just an idea. And the manifestation is not the words. It's this quieting, this simplicity. The hurt. What is it? And maybe the word drops away for a moment. There's physical sensations, tightening or churning, pictures, still flashing or flashing, we don't have to say still, and a quietness, an absence. I'm thinking of the Buddhist word of emptiness, where things can occur, but they're not personalized. And that may sound weird to say. It's happening to me. It's in here. It's in this theater. It happened to me. And the replay is of my experience. Well, is it? We don't have to take every thought as gospel because it was thought or because it was believed by what? By more thoughts? By the body, emotions? Or can it just all be here as it is, seen? Seeing the churning without churning more, without trying to explain it or rationalize. And just this kind of, what is it? It's a beautiful way, the picture of the deer in the fields when you go up to the window or out on the porch and they see you and they just cock their heads. They don't immediately react. They wanna get a better idea of what's going on. Are you a danger? If not, back to eating, back to the shrubs, back to the grass. And if you are, they leave. But they don't go very far. And then back to eating. So that's the feeling here of just listening. Is there really a danger? Is there chaos, hurt? And this isn't said to diminish or to deny what memory brings or what daily life brings. But it's the sense is there's a different way of what? Listening. Less active, less activated, and yet very alive and energized. One is used to the activation, to all of the systems being on a high alert. I heard somebody use that expression yesterday. It's a good expression. Everything's geared up, fight or flight, or both. Or not knowing which, and one's just dumbfounded, torn. Should I do this or that? What should I do? How should I react? How should I deal with this? How to be with this? And the last thing that occurs to us, maybe the first thing at times, but maybe sometimes fairly far down the list, is not to do anything, but listen. Tap into that incredible possibility of sitting quietly. I don't mean at this point physically sitting quietly, although that could be part of it. Sometimes that helps if there's something really churning, to just not meditate. Maybe I said that in the wrong tone of voice, but not anything special, just sit quietly and see what's going on. Somehow, if the body stills, it's an invitation to this busy brain just to run its course. I was just thinking, if one goes out, which I don't do anymore, I don't have the knees for it, but you can't run forever. At least I can't. You get tired. You need to sit down, rest, or walk. And I wonder about thought, worrying, tensing, hurting, fighting with itself. Does it tire itself out at times? Not pushing thought aside or trying to become quiet, but letting things settle. And one can, again, it's an experience here. One can hear that in oneself, like, oh, it's getting too quiet. I better come up with something. Turn up the radio. Get busy. And again, maybe not buying into that. Or at least, again, just, wow, that's weird. There's something here that's uneasy with quiet. And just being curious with that. Seeing if that's possible. What is that movement, activity, which may soon morph into something much more charged? And one wonders, where did that come from? That uneasiness with being here, quietly. Quietly being here with motion, with working with each other. And as we started out, being in a world where there's a lot that on a really fundamental level doesn't make sense, where there's hatreds, where there's stupidity, blind allegiance to some very dubious figures. And this is not saying that one doesn't participate, that if one has the opportunity or the willingness or the capacity to write letters or go to well, one doesn't gather in groups these days, but to talk with people, to listen to people, maybe much more important to listen. To be available, to respond. But the wondering here is if that responding, if that being available, this word is coming back, and I never don't use this word very much, but can it come from a kind of emptiness, an emptiness that sees and is part of the fullness of life, the wholeness, but at times, at moments, empty, or at least aware, empty of defenses. Let me put it that way. Open to what's happening here, to my own wantings, these clashes, and also open to the quiet, the interspersing or the or the wholeness of quiet in this moment. And actually, out of that quiet, a response and availability may come that's totally unscripted, unforced, unconventional. It's an amazing, amazing thing to see it happen. Or maybe one just reacts afterwards. I, I, I usually see that person or I hear that person and I get uptight, I get angry, and it didn't happen. There was some space. And I didn't see the person that I thought I saw. It wasn't the think picture, the pictures we were talking before of my humiliation or my dominance or my whatever. There was actuality, warmth in that actuality. Because we saw a person, a being, a beingness. I say we saw ourselves for a moment. We usually say the word myself to refer to something that we think is me, that is separate, apart, alone, lonely. Nobody understands me. And in this moment of quiet, of meeting without meeting, what are we? We can answer with descriptions, or it can be just listening, not knowing. I don't know who you are. I don't know who I am. And it's okay. I don't need the descriptions. I don't need to write a novel or a horror story or a love story, even. No story for a moment of really aliveness, of aliveness. No adjectives needed. Energy and quiet and warmth and affection. Is that possible in a chaotic world, a pandemic world? It's not all horrible news. One sees pictures, people on the front lines, capable of being with each other, with their patients, with warmth, with affection, with the dying. I want to say, aren't we all on the front lines? Not off on an island. We're here, aren't we? We can say we're not. I'm often daydreams or thoughts, but we're here. Whatever the daydreams or thoughts tell us, we're still here. And maybe looking at what fights that, what always wants to move away, to find a better place or a worse place, to deny, I can't be here, I don't know what that is, what they're talking about. Not talking about anything. Just being here. Curious, alert, maybe moments of quiet, and no judgment. Is that possible? Just perhaps a moment of just things as they are, and not knowing what that is, but open to find out, to see, to listen. I'll end the talking here.